namaste. We will start today with answering some questions from the email. It were some questions from Anna, but I think the last lesson answered to them. And then from Simon, we have other 3 questions. So they are about the last lesson, the last meditation actually, and they are like this. In meditating on the earth tattva, I observed that it seems the tattva could evolve by itself on the others spontaneously and not systematically the next on the list. My question is it possible and does it make sense to meditate on tattva in the samhara krama way by just waiting the first tattva earth to evolve or resorbing by itself on the next or another and so on, using just a minimal intention of guiding the meditation and then follow what is going on with sometimes good surprises? This is the question. That could mean that we let it go and experience what is going or not going on. For sure, when we do it here, we try to experience all the tattvas and take them in order, but usually in meditation it's not like you have the sheet with all the tattvas and try to mark each one of the tattvas and move on. Usually it's about how you can feel them and, like Simon says, evolve naturally from one to another. And the practical part of today, we will speak about this kind of evolution of the way we experience ourselves in meditation and the meditation itself. It's like this samhara krama, it's in when it's done, it's the natural thing to do to let the tattvas transform from one another. So the second question is, does it make sense to orient a meditation on one level to the next only by choose one aspect in the analogy, for example, earth, smell, excretion, nose, mana, space, limitation, etc.? It can be, for sure. I think everybody experienced this kind of some aspect, some tattva, it's more natural to experience than others, because for sure everybody is having some natural tendencies. For some, smell is more powerful, for some seeing is more powerful, for some hearing is more powerful, so it's natural to have like some kind of preference in this resorption or going on like a ray of this kind of manifestation. But for sure, the freedom that our consciousness have means that we can experience all the tattvas, even if, because we don't have to hurry or going like I want to be as fast as I can to the higher tattvas, but let the meditation take us from one tattva to another. Like the previous question said, maintaining like an intention, like I want to go in that direction, but I also enjoy the view on my way there. You know, like when you go on a trek on a mountain, you want to reach peak, but also you want to enjoy yourself in the journey. So it's a bit like this. And the last question is, on the first lesson on tattvas, you guided a meditation with the two ways, srishti and samhara kramas. And in the second lesson, you guided only in a single way. What are you recommend? Is it better if we have time to do the go and return way on the same meditation? I don't remember to do it the both ways. I only remember to do it the samhara, the resorption, so going from earth to Shiva. But actually, the way in Tantra and in Shaivism, it's to go up and down on this ladder of tattvas. So you don't want to go all the way up and remain there, but you want to come back, infusing the consciousness and bliss and what you experience on those levels, infusing them in the everyday life. So it's not like we want to, and we spoke a lot about this, it's not like we want to escape this world and never go back, but actually we want to experience freedom, to enjoy being in this world. And for this reason, we want to go up, all the way up, and then with that knowledge coming back in the body and in the everyday life. So for sure, from the meditation point of view, we can do both of them if we feel like, and it's an interesting experience in the both ways. But sure, again, because it's a natural thing, it's something that evolves in time and is not like something that we can force it in a short period of time, then it's a maybe. We can do it like experimenting with it and trying to go all the way up, and then trying to see it from the other perspective of emanation, of manifestation, and seeing the things from the Shiva perspective. But that means that we can go to the Shiva perspective. So for this reason, it's a bit more difficult, you know. Even if we used in our meditation that bhavana, that mystical intuition to try to access those levels, that doesn't mean that we actually or that it's actually that easy to experience the Shiva consciousness, or to be free of Maya and such. And we will see today why it's so difficult, and why it takes us lives, not just one life, but more lives to get there. So the subject of the today lesson, it's about the three malas or impurities, but also the 7 observers or experiencer of this world, because they are very close related, and actually the practical part will be more about these observers, or they called in Sanskrit pramatri or pramata, the one that experience the world. So what is mala? Mala, sure, the word, when we hear it in the way we pronounce it, can mean 2 things. With short as, it's this impurity. With long al, as, mala, means the garland or the rosary traditionally used for japa. But here it's the mala with short as, and it's about this kind of impurity, or the actual word means dirt or garbage or stain or defilement. It's about something that creates this kind of impurity. And what it means in this tradition is that for sure the most known impurity is that of avidya. Avidya usually is translated by ignorance, but all the spiritual tradition that speaks about this avidya doesn't see it like an absence of knowledge, because when we speak about ignorance we think about, okay, it's a lack in knowledge, so you don't know something, and if you read something or speak with someone or hear someone speaks about that subject, you will escape that ignorance and become knowledgeable. But in these spiritual traditions of India, be it Buddhism or Hinduism or yoga or Shaivism, avidya, it's more about the wrong type of knowledge. So it's not that you don't know something, but you know it in the wrong way, like this. So for this reason, it's called mala, impurity, because it's the wrong type of knowledge. So there is something there, but it's not the good kind of knowledge. I hope it's sufficiently express this. So for this reason it's called like this. Sure, there are a lot of names that are given to this kind of ignorance, of this kind of avidya. Sometimes it's called pasha. Pasha means like a chain, like something that binds you. It's called banda, which actually means binding. Ajnana, lack of knowledge, but again it's about wrong knowledge, but and not a lack of knowledge. Or it's called tamas, ignorance, or a lot of these kind of names. So actually the problem is we speak about this non-duality, and we speak about this realization that Jiva, the embodied soul, and Shiva are the same. But the actual experience is that sure, Jiva, which is us, is not the same as Shiva. We have a limited experience and we experience the world in a limited way. So the reason is this mala, this impurity. So I will project the word to see it, how it's spelled and what it means. Sure, when we speak about this bondage or this kind of chains that makes us limited and transform us from Shiva to Jiva, to this kind of limited being, the thing that creates this again is this ajnana. For example, in Malini Vijaya Tantra, a classical treatise on Shaivism, it's said that the ignorance, ajnana, that causes the sprouting of samsara, it's called mala. So what makes this world of samsara is this mala. Iar in Sarvachara Tantra, it said that from ignorance the world is bound. Thence, from this, creation and destruction. These cycles, because samsara and the world is seen like an eternal circle of born, live for a while, die, born again, live for a while, die, and such. And these cycles are created by this kind of mala. For sure, when we speak about freedom and the concept of liberation, moksha, which is another thing that it's always expressed in Upanishads and in all the texts of spirituality, of sure Eastern spirituality. When we speak about moksha, two things are always there. First, there is a soul, a self, which is bound by something, and who will attain this moksha. So, to get the freedom, it's implied that there is someone to be freed. Yes, this is implied. And secondly, for sure, this self or soul, it's bound, because you cannot speak about freedom if there is no lack of freedom. Yes. So moksha as a concept, as a goal in yoga, in Shaivism, implies that there is someone who will attain this moksha, and that someone is bound, it's in bondage. So for this reason, to understand what freedom means, first we have to understand what means to be bound, what means the lack of freedom. And sure, the problem is that we are thinking about freedom from the perspective of the bound soul. So for us, freedom just means I will do whatever I want without anyone to limit my my freedom to act in whichever way I want. But this is not really freedom, because what I want to do, usually it's dictated by the samskaras, vasanas, those impressions and tendencies that are inscribed in our subconscious. So what I want to do is not coming from real freedom, but it's created by the previous action, thoughts, desires, and such. So this is not really freedom. To attain real freedom, we have to understand that bondage, what binds us, what makes us to don't be free, is this ignorance, this ajnana or avidya. And for sure, there are two types of this avidya or ajnana, bauddha and paurusha. We spoke about this bauddha and paurusha because we spoke about them as means to attain that freedom. Bauddha jnana and paurusha jnana, which means a knowledge that is intellectual and existential. But again, they are in the same times ajnana, ignorance. So Bauddha ajnana, it's a lack of knowledge. We don't know what to do. It's as simple as that. We don't know what to do to become free. And sure, this kind of agyana or avidya, it's relatively easy to remove. We read, we attend some satsangs, and we found out what we can do to attain freedom. But the other kind, paurusha, which is an existential kind of ignorance that comes from within, and it's profound, and it's the way we experience world. That kind, it's harder to remove, because for that we have to transform to achieve that freedom. So again, in this kind of paurusha, agyana is not about that we don't know, but it's about the wrong kind of knowing. And sure, we will see further away what it's all about. The usual question is, how can this ignorance, this lack of knowledge, but again, this wrong knowledge, be so powerful to make a change in the way we experience and perceive the world around us? How this ignorance make Shiva a pashu? Pashu means a bound soul, from pasha, which means binding or chain. So how this kind of ignorance make Shiva a pashu? And the usual metaphor, it's about how we experience the world in a dream state. And they say, sure, it's a metaphor, that a king can dream he is a beggar. And in the dream, he has all the anguish and the problems that a beggar has, and suffer from hunger and lacks and problems. And as long as he is in the dream, he is a beggar. But as soon as he is waking up, he regains his status of kingdom, he is again a king, and his mind is corrected in that moment. So the mind can create this reality in which the king is a beggar, but he is never a beggar. Just as long as his mind creates that reality, he experiences the world as a beggar. Sure, this analogy, this metaphor means that we just have to wake up from our dream as limited beings, but we see that it's not that easy to just wake up. We have to do something to wake up. So in this case, for sure, as we think, so we are. And we spoke about this when we spoke about bhavana, that mystical intuition. We saw that in that text and in Shaivism also, it said that if you think you are a limited being, you are a limited being. But again, it's not just simply thinking. It's more about that paurusha agyana. So it's like a very deep inner feeling that you are a limited being. So for this reason, it's not easily changed. So it's not sufficient that you say, I'm Shiva, Shivoham, Shivoham, and everything will be okay. You have to reach that deeper level from where these come, and this deeper level, it's about these malas. And to get to the actual malas, every time I prepare for this lesson, I gather a lot of material, but we don't have that much time to get through all. So we will condense a little. So there are 3 malas, 3 impurities. And for sure, we spoke about kanchukas the last time around, and those are also some limiting factors that transform the infinity, eternity, omnipotence, omniscience of Shiva in a limited being. But sure, these malas are related to those kanchukas, but we will see in which way. First of these malas is called Anavamala. Ana or Anu means an atom, some very small thing. So this Anavamala creates this, it's an imperfection, it's an impurity that creates in Shiva the sense that he is Anu or Jiva. It's a limited being. So an individuality, it's someone. That it's like he is not everything, but it's someone. We can look at this in a way like, you know, for a drop of rain to appear, you have to have a small impurity around which the water can condense and make the raindrop. Otherwise, it's just a big cloud of water that floats in the air. As soon as that small impurity appears, it can form a droplet that will go down in the form of rain. So Anu in this Anavamala is this small impurity that condenses some consciousness around it and makes this individuality. So this Anavamala, it's the first step in creation. It's the first step to manifest the world. And sure, when we speak about pramatris or pramatas, we will see that this is a place in between tattvas. The moment that this Anavamala appears, it's a place in between tattvas. It's in between Sada Shiva, the pure Shiva, or Sadavidya, the pure knowledge, and Maya Tattva. For this reason, sometimes it's called Mahamaya, the big Maya, because this is like in-between space that creates this individuality that then can be manipulated by Maya to experience the world. So for this reason, this Anavamala appears in this in-between space created by this Mahamaya. And traditionally, there are described 2 kinds of Anavamala. Because the consciousness, Chaitanya, it's about freedom, Svatantriya, which is the freedom of Shiva, he can do whatever he wants. But for sure he has this pure kind of will, so he's not about vasanas and samskaras in his case, but about this freedom to create or to manifest. But this freedom, when it's limited, he cannot do anything anymore. So the first way to look at this anavamala is the limitation of the freedom of consciousness. The other way is the fact that the consciousness is not aware of his freedom anymore. So it appears like two ways to say the same thing. First is just the consciousness loses his freedom, and in the second way, this consciousness is not aware of his freedom. So it seems the same, but it's nuance there. And for this reason are this kind of two anavamalas. First, it's you are not free anymore, you are limited. Second, you forget that you have that freedom. It's like this. So it's like 2 degrees of this anavamala. When we look from below, when we want to remove these malas, the first is this, the first thing that we experience when we are aware of this anavamala is that we are very close to the Shiva consciousness, but we cannot reach it. It's that we are, and again, someone which only have this anavamala, this impurity, it's very high on the level of consciousness because he's very close to the Shiva consciousness, but he cannot cross that threshold to the pure tattvas, to the Sada Shiva and Ishvara and Shuddhavidya, Ishvara and Sada Shiva. So he cannot cross this threshold of consciousness as long as he maintains his individuality. This is the reason. So as long as he experiences the world from this individual point of view, he maintains this kind of separateness from the world. For this reason, anavamala is experienced as non-fullness or apurnata. I have this feeling that I am incomplete. I am not all anymore, but I am just something. Even if that something means that I am a god, I am, I don't know, Brahma or Vishnu, I am not all. I am not all gods, I am not all things, I am just something. Yes? And for this reason, it's very paradoxical as an experience, because you can be very high on the level of consciousness and still be bound by this individuality. You still experience yourself as separated from the world, even if you can embrace in your consciousness galaxies and universes. Because you feel that you are still not complete. You are still separated from the wholeness. And for this reason appears desire, that desire for completion, and from this the other malas, because you will see this anavamala is seen as the cause for all the other malas, because from the moment you feel this incompleteness, this lacking, something is missing, and you don't know really what is missing, and for this reason you want to hold on everything to get anything in this you that you feel, and from this appear the other malas. Going further, the way we can define this anavamala is that the infinite consciousness identifies itself with the limited individuality, which technically it's called an ego. Again, this ego is very subtle in the case of anavamala, or when just anavamala remains. It's very subtle, but it's still an ego. It's still something that separates us from the wholeness. And I think you understand what this means. So anavamala is the one that creates this kind of limitation of individuality, and from this will go all the other problems. And again, this is the making of Maya, of illusion, of this Mahamaya, this great illusion, which is that place in between tattvas. And we will go now to the next mala, which is called Maya mala. Maya mala, it's actually the impurity of illusion, and for sure we can call them all Maya malas. All the malas are created by illusion, but sure, this particular form of illusion, which is called Maya mala, is the one that creates the experience of duality. So first we have this anavamala that creates the experience of individuality. The infinite consciousness of Shiva becomes Anu, becomes Jiva or Jivatman, the living soul. And then from this, when you are feeling that you are only this thing, appears duality. If I am this thing, all that is not this thing is the other. So this Maya mala is the one that help us in a way to experience the other, creates this kind of otherness, this duality of me and the object that I have an experience of, or me and you, two subjects that we have different experience of the world. This is Maya mala. So it creates this kind of differentiation of duality in the consciousness. So it creates this kind of thoughts. This house is mine, that house is not mine, this man is my friend, this man is not my friend, is my enemy, this is my lover, this is not my lover. So all these dualities that creates a separation in the world, it's the fault of this Maya Mala, or the experience of duality. So sure, this Maya Mala, it's actually created by the Maya and the 5 Kanchukas. The sure, Maya with the 5 create the 6 Kanchukas. Those are the ones that creates this experience of otherness and duality between subject and object, between one subject and another subject, between one object and another object. Practically creates this separation in the world, because for sure when we look at something, at first we see like an object. I don't know, we look at this all of us look at a screen, and we can call it that a screen. But if we think more about it, that screen has parts. So is the screen, but is the bezel or that surrounds the screen, is the electronic components that makes the screen function, the wireless and such and such and such. So that one thing that we saw at first as an unity, we can see it as a diversity. And then every part of that can be again seen as a sum of different parts and a sum of different substances and such and such. So this kind of dualizing view, in which we see more and more differentiation, more and more duality, is the fault of this Maya Mala. Instead of seeing more and more unity, we see more and more duality the more we look at the world. So this is the way that our minds work, separating things in parts. So sure, this kind of Maya amplifies this experience that we are imperfect and we lack something, we are deficient. And sure, for this reason we try to compensate and make a passion for external object or events or persons. And this is called lolika in tradition, which is this craving for things and experiences that makes us to go in the world and have different kinds of experiences. And sure, this Maya creates this this kind of experience that there are good things and bad things, and we want more of the good things and we want less of the bad things. Like I said, this Maya Mala, which can sometimes be actually identified with Maya Shakti, with the energy of illusion, is the one creating the 5 Kanchukas, which limits all the aspects of the divine consciousness. And from this point of view, we can consider that Maya Mala is the one that makes us feel that the body and his possessions are who we are. So Anavamala creates the sensation that we are a limited consciousness, and then further away Mayamala creates this kind of impression that we are the body and what we have, and we define ourselves not by who we are but by what we have. I have this body, I have this knowledge, I have this lover and such. We define ourselves by what we have. I have, if we apply this impurity to the spiritual life, I have this initiation, I have this experience and such. It's, even if it's about spiritual things, is the same impurity. But for sure, to have this Mayamala, we have to have first Anavamala. So we have to have first the limited consciousness to then experience the duality and the body. And then for sure the third impurity is called Karma Mala. And Karma Mala means that we feel this limitation and this lack of wholeness. We want to act to remove that lack and to fill that void, inner void, with actions. And for sure Karma Mala sometimes is confused with Karma Samskara, which are the impressions of the actions, because sure the samskaras are the ones that store karma, which means the fruits of our actions. But samskaras are just the effects, the results of the actions. Actions by themselves are the object of this Karma Mala. And this for this Karma Mala is seen as the most external or most how do I say it, gross impurity. So usually, and you will see this again and again in the Shaivism, all things are in three levels: gross, intermediate, and subtle. So Karma Mala is the gross impurity, the most evident and present one. Maya, it's like in between, and the Anava is the most subtle. So in the case of Karma Mala, the problem is that we are attached or we appropriate the actions and we want the results. We are not just doing something, we're doing something for obtain something. So usually in our life, it's very rare or is not common to just do something for the joy of doing or for the joy of being in action. We usually want to have a result, to obtain something. We don't go to work just to enjoy doing the work, but we want a salary to use it for some other things, to procure the joy of life. And we don't do the dishes just for the joy of doing dishes, but we want to have clean dishes to eat the next time and such. So we always have this kind of mentality that we do something to obtain something. And this is karma mala. It's like we bind ourselves to action and the result of the action. And from this, for sure, is generated karma. Karma as we know it. Usually when we hear of karma, for sure, usually it's used in a like a negative thing. If you hurt yourself in something, you have karma to burn. Yes, but actually karma, it's all the things that happens, because karma is the result of all our action, good and bad. So if we look at the action from this point of view, we see that usually we think about action from this perspective of good actions and bad actions, and even if sometimes it's subjective, so what we think is good is not always good, or what we think is bad is not always bad. Usually I think it's more of the first, less of the last. Usually if we can go wrong by saying what I do now, it's good when it's actually bad, but usually we know for certain that if it's bad, it's bad. Very rare, I think, it's the possibility that something that we think is bad is actually good. But anyhow, when we look at action from this perspective, I do good things because I want to have good results, and I do bad things, but also I want good results, but because are bad things, karma will be a bitch and give me bad results. Sure, there is this problem of samsara. We will born again and live and die again, and born again, live, die again, because we have to obtain the results of our action, and usually we cannot obtain them in this life, so we need another life and another life to experience these results of our actions. So the impurity of karma means that we assume the doership. We are the one that are doing things, but we are the one that is doing things from this limited perspective of Anu, of limited consciousness. We are not Shiva that is doing things, but we are Sebastian that is doing things. So from this perspective, we are limiting ourselves and chain ourselves to the consequences of our actions. And from this, again, it's these never-ending cycles of creation and dissolutions. What is interesting from this point of view is that for you to have karma mala, you have to have a body to act. Sure, in the case of Maya mala or Anava mala, you have this impurity, but you don't have yet a body. So to act means that you have to be incarnated, to be in a structure that allows you to act. So from this reason, karma mala begins with Purusha and Prakriti, where you start to have a form in which you can act. Until then, it's just a way in which consciousness is made to be limited and experience this kind of duality, but it's just in consciousness, is not acting. And sure, the problem with karma mala is this belief that you are the one who is doing things. You are the one who is doing things from this limited perspective. It's not that an action flows and is done but by the necessity of the universe, but you willfully and purposefully want to do something to obtain a specific kind of result, because this is the problem with karma and karma yoga in general. Is the difficulty to renounce this binding to the result of your actions. So in this tradition, they make these differentiations or separation between karma and kriya. Karma is the action that you are doing by your will and focused on some kind of result. Kriya is the action that's flowing and you are doing for the pure joy of doing without worrying about what will be the result, and if is the result that you want, you will be happy. If it is not the result that you want, you will be miserable, and such and such. So this is the difference between karma and kriya, between karma that is binding and karma yoga that is liberating. So for karma to be called karma, it has to be coming from a sense of lack or want. You're missing something, so you are doing something to obtain something. And it's a voluntary action. You want to do that to obtain that. Again, you are focused on the result. So in Ishvara Pratyabhijna Karika, Utpaladeva describes karma mala as the action done when the doer is ignorant of his real nature. And commenting on this in his Vimarshini, Abhinavagupta says that karma mala comes when the doer is in the state of ignorance and imperfection, has the sense of duality, so Anavamala and Mayamala, and performs the action in the form of virtue and vice. So it's aware that there are some virtuous actions and vicious ones, which leads to birth and reaping the fruits of actions, which is the law of karma. You have to reap what you sow. And let's stop here. If you have question a bit about these three malas, before we move forward to the observers or the experiencer.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
From a non-dual point of view, the universe is made out of consciousness and energy, out of Shiva and Shakti, intertwined with each other. Are these malas part of this process of manifestation as well, as we are submitted to them, or is it just like regarding our existence, our awareness of our surroundings?
So these malas are actually an expression of this svatantriya, of this freedom of Shiva. So sure, when Shiva and Shakti want to create the world, they have to seed it. Again, this metaphor of the clouds that have to be seeded with impurities, that droplets of water appear and then the rain can manifest. It's a very good metaphor for what is happening with these malas. So for this play, because again they seeing this appearance of malas and Maya as a play of consciousness of Shiva, he wants to experience the world from a different point of view, from different points of view. So not just from his perspective, because from his perspective all is consciousness and it stops there. So to have this play, this game of existence, he has to change the way that he can experience things, and for this he creates this kind of limitation. And in this way he can have different perspective, different points of view of what is happening. Other way is just pure consciousness, pure bliss, pure existence, or Satchitananda, or consciousness and bliss, Chitananda, and such. So this is seen as the reason for these limitations. They are allowing Shiva or Paramashiva or divine consciousness to experience the world and to enjoy the world. And for sure, the problem is, okay, if it's the Shiva's creation, why this creation is not perfect? Why there is suffering? Why there is meanness and evil in the world? This is a problem that it's ever present in all the spiritualities. Why is God allowing evil in the world? Why is not everything perfect and everything experienced just joy and bliss and such? So these malas kind of explain this evil, because when this consciousness becomes limited and has this limited view of the world, it also have like a perverted kind of freedom. This limited consciousness can do whatever it wants and starts to make choices. These choices and actions, some of them get this farther away from the divine consciousness, some get it more close. The more farther away is from the divine consciousness, the more it's possible to manifest in the imperfect way, in a, like we call it, evil way. Because the farther away is from divine consciousness, the farther away is the experience of unity. So if you experience the world from the point of view of individuality and selfishness, sure, the most important thing is you. And because the most important thing is you, and you are lacking empathy and capacity to experience what others experience, you can do evil things without feeling that those are evil things. So if you are so far away from the divine consciousness, it's easy to kill someone, to kill an animal, to torture an animal or another person, because you are not having any kind of relation with the other. So the more you are in this illusion created by those malas, the more you are capable of doing evil things. And those sure are a snowballing effect, because create karma. Karma takes you again, and if you are making the same mistakes, you are farther away from the divine consciousness. And because from the point of view of the divine consciousness, nothing happens. Everything is divine, everything is consciousness. But from the individual point of view, it's not like this. And for this reason, it's possible to experience suffering and evil in the world. So for Shiva, sure, there is always the path to this divine consciousness, but you have to choose it and to walk it all the way through. Other way, it's always possible to go farther away, and from that point of farther away, you are capable of all the evil things. For Shiva, is just a game, a play. He is not good or evil from this point of view. He give us the freedom to do what we want. But the more we forget who you are, the more we can, or we are capable of doing bad things. And again, bad from this perspective of what takes us farther away from consciousness and bliss. It's not like it's you know that image that Krishna shows to Arjuna on the battlefield when Krishna wants to show to Arjuna that he has to follow his dharma and go and do the battle. He shows him the universe from the perspective of this neutrality of divine consciousness. All the things go in and out of existence again and again and again. Sure, it's better not to get in a conflict, because sure, karma is what it is. But if you can do that kriya and let the flow through you, then sure, you are not bind. But usually this is used by some limited consciousness to mean, oh, so that then I can kill if I am in kriya. I can do all the bad things, but I am not bound by karma because I am not attached to it. It's not like this, but because again, the closer you are to the divine consciousness, the more in harmony you act. It's not like you will choose to do killings or these kind of things, because you are experience more and more unity, and you are feeling that if you are killing someone, you are feeling the suffering, and you understand the implication and such and such. I hope it's more clear now. Other questions? So let's get to the next part, in which we will speak about these 7 observers or subjects. In Shaivism, self-realization is not seen like switch on off. You are a realized being on, you are not a realized being off. It's a process. Sure, like in Yoga Sutras, where Patanjali speaks about those parinamas, transformation towards something, it's a process. It's like this veil that covers the divine consciousness, it's thinning, by purifying yourself is thinning, and more of this divine light are shining through. And sure, this process sometimes can be more rapid, more fast, but usually this means that we are already prepared. We did something good in our past lives and we are already prepared, so the process goes faster. Otherwise, we have to put in the work, so this veil that covers the divine consciousness is thinned. For this reason, there are stages, there are levels of experience in the way we experience the world. And these are these pramatris, these are these experiencers, these observers. Because for every level of experience, we have a name. So, for sure, every impurity that is removed help us to go to a new level of consciousness. And for sure, I want to be clear, consciousness, divine consciousness doesn't have levels. Divine consciousness is just divine consciousness. But the way we experience this divine consciousness, because we are bound by different impurities, it has levels. So it's more that the limited experience has levels, but the divine consciousness, it's wholeness and doesn't have any level. And again, from time to time, especially in Advaita, there is this kind of view that it's like an on-off switch. Either you are, either you aren't. It's not, there are not places in between, but in Shaiva, they see it like, okay, you are gradually becoming and transforming yourself. And first of these observers, like you already see on the screen, it's called Sakala. Kala usually means parts. So Sakala means the one with parts. It has these parts. And usually Sakala Pramatri, the one who has this experience, this observer, this consciousness, is the one that has all the impurities active. So he has karma mala, he has maya mala, he has anava mala. For this reason, sometimes this is called prameya, or the object of perception. So it's like the one who observes and the one that is observed are on the same level, is the same kind of thing. And Sakala is experienced from Prithvi to Purusha. It's the whole range of limited experience. It's called, it's viewed from this Sakala perspective. And from this point of view, all the finite beings, all the fine beings, from amoebas to heavenly gods, from the unicellular beings to the heavenly gods, are Sakala Pramatri, are in this kind of things, because they exist in this world of Prithvi to Purusha. Next, we have Pralaya Kala. Pralaya means resorption, dissolution, and this is like a state of negation. The whole world is negated, doesn't exist. And usually it's like a deep sleep. It's like a void in which you are not aware of anything. It's like you don't have a body, you don't have experience of the world. So for this reason, usually it's experienced like the state of deep sleep. But sure, the difference is that in deep sleep you are not at all aware. In pralaya kala, you are aware that you are in a void, but it's not nothing there. Just the experience that you are, and there is a difference, but duality in pralaya kala, usually karma mala is not active anymore. It's just maya mala and anava mala. So the experience of pralaya kala, it's in the domain of maya and kanchukas. For some, this pralaya kala, it's like tamas. You cannot act, and you just are in this in-between state, not aware of anything exterior because the world doesn't exist anymore. You don't have the means to experience the world anymore. Again, you are going beyond Purusha, but you are in this in-between domain of Maya and the Kanchukas. You are experiencing the limitings, but you are not experiencing the world. And for this reason, this pralaya kala is seen like this kind of tamas state. Sakala, even if it's like an inferior, it has all the malas active. It's more like an rajas because you can act and you act and you act, and sure, all the chaos that comes from acting and following the results of your actions. But in the case of pralaya kalas, because the body is dissolved, you don't have any means to act. And sometimes this is seen like the intermediate state before you get a body and you are able to act again. And sometimes says that this is the body that you keep in pralaya, in that dissolution, universal dissolution, and then when the pralaya stops, you get a body and become again a sakala and experience the world. But usually from the perspective of what you do from the point of view of spirituality, is that void when you are not experience the world, but you are not experience the freedom of consciousness and the pure tattvas either. So from a point of view, it's your mind is stopped, you don't have a mind anymore, you are beyond Purusha, so you don't have a mind, but you don't experience consciousness and bliss. You are experience duality and individuality in a way, but again removed from the world. So this is the problem of pralaya kala, which is actually the initial stage of consciousness, like an embryonic state, just before you enter the world. And then we have Vijnana Kala. Vijnana Kala, it's the one who only have Anavamala. So the impurity of Maya is gone. It's a very high spiritual experience, but you are still an individuality. You are in a high samadhi, but you are still experiencing a limited consciousness. It's like I said, Anavamala is in that place between Maya and Shuddhavidya, Maya illusion and pure knowledge. So Vijnana Kala, it's in that Mahamaya, is that not Tattva but in between Tattvas. So from this point of view, Vijnana Kala, it's experienced in higher states of Samadhi just before you translate to the Shuddhavidya, to the pure Tattvas. And then you have you actually go to the pure Tattvas, and the first one to experience the pure Tattva is called mantra pramatri. So sure, we know mantra from the mantra, which means the instrument of the mind, but in this case mantra refers to the consciousness that it's aware of these kind of energies which are manifested by mantras. So mantra pramatri, this observer, it's on the level of Shuddhavidya, of the pure knowledge. And sure, from this moment we are talking about the experience of the pure tattvas. This mantra experience is I am me, this universe is this universe, aham aham idam idam, me this. And in this experience, the yogi has the experience of the real nature of the self, the truth that he is the consciousness, the divine consciousness. Sure, there is still a trace of duality, because he has this difference between me and this universe, that on the next level of Mantreshvara, the Lord of the mantras, which is experienced on the Ishvara Tattva, and where he has this experience of the universe is an expansion of my consciousness. The universe is me by this expansion of consciousness. And sure, the name is this means that is the one who has sovereignty, has the mastery of the mantra. Mantra in this case being aham, me, I. And then we have the mantra Maheshvara Pramatri, which is an escalation of this kind of lordship. Maheshvara means the great lord of the mantras. So this is the experience of Sadashiva, the pure Shiva. And the observer of this state is called mantra Maheshvara, observer of the state of Sadashiva. And then sure, we have the last one, which is called Shiva Pramatri. And here the observer, or the one who has this experience, is actually Shiva. And if in the other, you can make like a very subtle difference between the one who has the experience and the one who is experienced. Like sure, in mantra Maheshvara, I am this universe, and sure, even if I refer to this universe as being me, there is the idea, sure, there is no universe still. I want to remember you that in the pure tattvas there is no universe. The universe starts after the Maya and the 5 Kanchukas. Before that is just an idea, is this intention of the universe. So there is no universe, just the idea. So in the case of mantra Maheshvara, the idea is that what will be the universe is me. In the Ishvara or mantra Ishvara, it's that the universe will be my expansion. My consciousness will expand in this universe. And in Mantreshvara, the experience is that my consciousness is my consciousness. The universe will be something separated from me, another thing. So this is like a subtle, very subtle difference in this Shuddha Tattvas, these pure Tattvas. It's more like the way in which the intention to create the universe is expressed. For this reason, it's about mantra. Mantra seen here as the idea of creation, the energy of the idea of creation. For this reason, we speak about mantra pramatri, mantreshvara pramatri și mantra maheshvara pramatri. So I hope it's clear. But in the case of Shiva pramatri, there is no difference. It's only consciousness, it's only I. So Shiva pramatri, the observer, the experiencer of Shiva and Shiva are one. There is no difference. And this is the way that they explain this kind of way in which we have the impurities, malas, and this kind of levels of experience of the way in which we experience the world. And what I want to do as a practical experience for today it's about this kind of how we have different experiences in meditation correlated with how we are identifying ourselves with different levels of manifestation. Sure, the way in which Shaiva puts it with Sakala, Pralaya Kala, Vijnana Kala, mantra, Mantreshvara, mantra, Maheshvara, and Shiva, it's a bit difficult because actually what we experience usually in meditation is just Sakala. From time to time we maybe enter Pralaya Kala, which is like a deep sleep. We don't remember what is happening, but it's like a void. And from time to time we go to Vijnana Kala at that threshold before the pure Tattvas. And sure, when we are very, very lucky, we go in the pure Tattvas and experience those I am the universe, or the universe is my expansion, and such. But usually those are very, very high experiences and happen not so often. What we usually experience, it's some degrees in this Sakala experience that takes us very close to Vijnana Kala or to Mantreshvara. And in yoga, these are called the koshas, Maya koshas, the illusory covering of the self. So in what we will do today is more like we will try to have this kind of experience inside of Sakala of these different bodies in which we experience the world. Because in traditional yoga, this is more closely related with how we experience the meditation. So the 5 koshas, if you are not familiar with them, are Annamaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, and Anandamaya kosha. And I will explain each of one to get you the sense that you have when you meditate. The actually meditation will be just Hridaya meditation, trying from this perspective to be more aware of the changes between these kind of bodies, koshas. Because sure, this kind of change happens naturally when we go deeper and deeper in meditation, but usually we are not paying attention. We are not aware of this. And what we will try today is to pay more attention to these changes in the way we experience ourselves in meditation. So the first kosha, which is called Annamaya kosha, Anna means food. So is the body created by food? Yeah, it's very simple, it's the physical body. So what Annamaya kosha means is the body that we have. And sure, the first experience that we have is the body, how we feel the body when we straighten our back, get the shoulders a little to the back to open the chest, and all the sensation that we have in the body are in this Annamaya kosha. Then it's this Pranamaya kosha. Prana means the energy of life. So Pranamaya kosha is the body of energy. So after we meditate a while, the experience that we have is that our body is not so dense anymore. It's like it starts to melting from inside and becomes more fluid. It's like instead of being of matter, we become to feel more like energy. Still, this energy maintains the form of the body, but it's like our body is melting from inside. It's not so dense, and we feel this movement of energy, sometimes the ascending movement of Kundalini or other energies. We start to feel this kind of melting from inside. And sure, usually it's a pleasant one if our body is not in the way by feeling some pain. We start to feel this kind of energy. And again, it's a very pleasant sensation because it's like we are melting from inside and we are not so dense and fixed in our forms anymore. Then we have Manomaya kosha. Mano, it's the mental body. It's the body created by our thoughts. And for sure, the next level of experience, it's when we don't feel like we have a body anymore. Because the mental body, it's how we see ourselves. It's about the image that we have of ourselves, and this image is not fixed anymore. You can be a sphere of consciousness. You can be a little cloud on the big blue sky. You can be a man even if you are a woman, or you can be a woman even if you are a man. You can be young even if you are old. You can be old even if you are young. It's about how you feel yourself to be. It's the quality of your mind. And for this reason, usually what you are feeling in meditation is that you don't have a body, you don't have a form anymore. You are like something, existing, still feeling that you are something, which is still like more like a sphere of consciousness or energy or light of something, but you are not constrained on this bodily form anymore. And usually, again, the experience is that you don't have any body. You don't have a body anymore. It's like you disappear from the physical realm and energetical realm, and you can be any form you want, or you just are light and consciousness. But again, still it's about the mind, because the mind becomes calmer and lighter, and you feel that inner light, and usually it's like, again, your body disappear, but still you are something. It's not like you are not nothing, but you are still something, but that something, it's again your mind, which becomes calmer and more luminous and such. Then the next level is called Vijnana Maya Kosha. Vijnana means the true knowledge. Usually this kind of experience is called, when you experience the Vijnana, it's called illumination. It's more like your experience is clarity and light. It's like something there clicks and everything is in the right place. Usually in the everyday life, we experience this in the moment when we truly understand something. Is that difference between knowing and understanding. You can know something, but that moment of aha, of Eureka, it's the true moment of understanding. In meditation, you experience this true moment of this is it. This is like it has to be when the mind is still and you are truly meditating. It's clarity, light. You don't have a body anymore. You are consciousness and bliss. Still, you are something, but this something, it's like a diamond, clear and full of light. And then it's the Anandamaya Kosha, the bliss body. You are happy. Yes, this clarity brings you to happiness. Happiness, this bliss body, it's very, very close to the Atman. So for this reason, we want to experience happiness, because happiness is being closer to Atman, to pure being. And for sure, the good meditation, the times when we say I had a good meditation, usually it's the moment that we experience this happiness, this bliss. We are feeling that we are bliss, because this is the reason that they are calling them koshas, bodies, because in that moment your body is bliss. Sure, Eckhart Tolle says that we have a suffering body, but we also have a bliss body. Yes, we have this Anandamaya Kosha. So in meditation, usually the deeper the meditation is, the closer we are to Atman, the more we are happy, the more we are experience this bliss body. And sure, we can think about this bliss body being that Vijnana Kala. It's just a small step to go to Atman, to go to Shuddha Tattvas. But still you are experiencing this bliss as what you are. And still that blissfulness, that ananda has a center, has a limitation, is still anavamala there. Only after this disappear you are experiencing Satchitananda. So there is ananda in Satchitananda, but it's not like a body, but it's what you are. You are pure consciousness, pure existence, pure bliss. So what we will do in our meditation, hopefully we will get to Ananda Maya Kosha, to that blissfulness. It's to be aware of this transformation. For this reason we have to, and I hope now is more clear why Patanjali says that asana has to be stiram sukham. You have to not move, to be firm in your posture, but also to feel good, to feel relaxed and good in the way you sit, because otherwise the pain in your body will be making a barrier or a thing that keeps you in the body, in the physical body, in Anandamaya Kosha. So we'll just do Hridaya meditation, but being aware of this way in which our awareness goes from body to body, transforming. Not, and I hope it's clear, not trying to force it. I want to feel bliss, because if you are wanting to feel bliss, will be no bliss there. Just frustration that where is the bliss? Why is not here? So let the things go, but sure, maintaining that mystical intuition, that bhavana. I want to be Satchitananda, I want to be conscious, I want to be existence, consciousness and bliss. I want to, not that I want to be, but I want to let that be. Because we are, again, we are consciousness and bliss, we are Shiva. It's just that for the reason that we spoke about today, we are not aware of this anymore. And bhavana means that we want to let that reality get to the surface of our awareness. So please get in a comfortable position for meditation, still maintaining the back straight so that you are not falling asleep. Because if you are falling asleep, you will enter pralaya kala, which is not what we want. So we straighten our backs, opening the chest so that we are feeling relaxed and open. We find that inner balance between stiram, stillness and firmness of the asana, and sukha, relaxation and pleasure. In this way we can stay still, but still feeling good. We let our mind relax, become more quiet. We open our awareness to the chest area, a little to the right, that place by which we can enter the reality of ourself, Atman. We can use the awareness of the breathing, feeling that small gap between inhalation and exhalation in which the mind remains suspended between thoughts, between breathings. This is the inner asana, the place in which mind can rest. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause. We let the mind go to the heart, where we can start Atma Vichara, the introspection, using the question, who am I? We ask the question, we are the answer, and we try to experience the different levels of who am I. The first is the sensation of the physical body, but then who is the one who observes this physical body? Me, who am I? We can feel that dissolving in the pure energy of pranam, but then again, who is feeling this prana body? Me, who am I? Then we can feel this dissolving of the prana body in the mental body, manomaya kosha, without form. But who is the one observing this mental body? Me, who am I? We can experience that clarity and light of the pure knowledge, Vijnana Maya Kosha. Who is the one experiencing this clarity and light? Me, who am I? We can start to feel that bliss of being experienced in Anandamaya Kosha, the body of happiness. But then again, who is the one having this blissful experience? Me, who am I? Keeping the awareness of the heart. Slowly we get back, opening the eyes. And we end our meditation. So, if you have any more questions before we end for tonight.
Question for the Hridaya meditation.
Yes.
When I move like the prana inside me, the energy, I know the meditation like with moving it up and down. So if I'm correct, it's based on the Pranochala. I don't know if I'm correct right now, but I know it like this, and it's kind of hard to me to stay in this space of the heart when moving the prana up. Like, do I just stay at the heart or just stay like internalized there? And that's not fully clear for me.
What we have to do is just be witnesses to what is happening inside of us, and then asking the question, who is that, the one who witnessed what is happening? So if the energy move up and down, who is the one that it's witnessing this movement of energy? This is the way that Hridaya puts this question, who am I? It's who is the one that has this experience? Any kind of experience, doesn't matter. Who is the one who has this experience? And in this kind of koshas, what it's happening that every time we feel that we are something, because usually it's happened like this, we feel that we are something, we ask ourselves, who is the one observing this something? And at some point we cannot get back anymore because we just are. We are not something anymore. We just are. And that is the moment that we are pure consciousness, pure existence, pure bliss. The moment that we cannot say that we are something. Every time we are feeling something or experiencing something, we turn ourselves to the one who has that experience. This is the sense, the meaning of the who am I. It's not just a philosophical question, but is this who is the one observing, who is the one experiencing, who is the one aware of what is happening? It's more like a point of view, just and not just asking a question. Because sure, the one who asks the question is the mind. Every time the question is formulated, it's put it in the words, it's the mind who asks the question. But it's not important the question, but the experience of the answer. So the way the prana moves is not that important. As important it is the one who is experiencing that movement of prana. This is the way that Ramana always turned the questions of the people that put the question towards this, who is the one experiencing? It's not experience important, but who is the one experiencing? And sure, all kind of wondrous things can happen inside of us, but we have to not let ourselves be fascinated or taken by those experiencing, but again and again turning towards the one who has that experience. So Manu, we want to...
Can we say that the Pralaya Kala corresponds with Jada Samadhi? I don't know if it's like kind of, I mean, I don't know if it's comparable because you said last time that the different description of the different states of Samadhi are not so clear in the Kashmir Shaivism. So
Yes, in Kashmir Shaivism they don't speak too much about different kind of samadhis. Sure, they speak about those different state of consciousness and of these pramatris, and it's hard to, because you see, every tradition is like a model of the world, and those models are not exactly corresponding to each other. And sure, most of us want to find correspondences and make them work with each other, but it's not like very sure. We can say that it's like that Jada Samadhi, that it's like an unconsciousness Samadhi, but it is and it is not.
also, I know that there is many different opinions, but I'm kind of contemplating this whole question of the causal body and where does the jiva finish. And today you want to express it that somehow Ananda, there is still individuality. And then there is a step beyond. So you could say that the jiva goes till this experience of bliss, but then there is a kind of going beyond, and then it entered into the Shuddha Vidya. So let's say the first level of this causal body or Anandamaya Kosha, it's still containing individuality. That's what you said. It's confusing because at that level, I mean, for example, when you read Nisargadatta and he said, okay, I am that was just the beginning, and then he said in his last treatise, it's just far beyond. It's already so deep. So it's kind of not so clear, but I just wanted you to confirm this idea that you expressed. That so the causal body or Anandamaya Kosha still contains
yes, still contains individuality, because the experience that you have, it's Ananda, it's a body, it's a kosha. You have this experience that happiness is something, Ananda is something, and you are that something. So when you experience your existence as being something, even if it's bliss, then you are still in some way limited by this anava mala, this impurity of individuality.
Then if you ask who am I, you can eventually go.
Yes, when you are not experiencing your existence as something, but as just pure existence, pure consciousness, pure bliss, for this reason it's called Satchitananda, then you can say that you start to experience the pure tattvas. So you are starting to experience mantra, pramatri, mantreshvara, pramatri, mantra, maheshvara, pramatri, from that point on. And sure, you see the Shaivites are still seeing some subtle differences between these, when usually in the other traditions is like from this on is just Atman. And like you said, Nisargadatta also sees that sure, you are there, but there are still some small differences between just there or all the way to Shiva Pramatri.
I mean, also even the name Satchitananda, some teacher say it's not the absolute somehow, so it's confusing. It's like for some Satchitananda, it's kind of it's like the end of the path. It's pure being. It's like I am Shiva or whatever, like or pure I. Everything is there. But some teacher seems to say that oh yeah, this is still kind of more a little bit the Ananda part, and then you have beyond that. So everybody has a bit of a different opinion.
Yes, what we can say is every time you experience yourself as being something, then you are still limited. This is the reason that those teachers are trying to say if you are thinking about Satchitananda as being something, then you are still in this part. You are not in the Shuddha part of the Tattvas.
It's still a witness experience.
Yes. You are being something. So the Satchitananda is just a name. If you are thinking about that as being something, existence, consciousness, bliss, then you are still in this part of Ananda Maya Kosha, in this illusory body. So for this reason is so much confusion, because usually our mind want to be something. For the mind, it's a problem to just being. She wants the answer. What am I? I have to be something. I cannot just be.
It wants to put a label on it.
Exactly. And feel that it is something. Is not just labeling, but feeling that it is something, because these labels comes from the experience that we have there, but usually it's like a reflection of the experience, because when you are there is no mind. So what is happening when you get back, that kind of experience reflects in your mind, and the mind says, okay, Satchitananda, I found it. I am something after all. But then you are just going back to the mind stuff.
Yeah, and then it start to like make it a statue with an object, and it's
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I saw that Raluca had some question.
Yeah.
You will ask it yourself, yes? Or should I read it? How do you
No,
prefer?
you can read it. I was just about to read it. I didn't know that you saw it.
I saw it, but I was already speaking with Manu. So, ask your question. Or should I read it?
Yeah, actually, I was just looking through my notebooks, and I saw a mention about the five dharanas, and I thought that maybe they do have a connection with the 36 tattvas you were talking about.
Yeah, I mentioned them very briefly, that they are the way in which traditionally they meditate on tattvas, these dharana mudras, they are called, or dharana, the five dharanas, the five way of meditating on tattvas, but we didn't enter in the detail of that kind of meditation. It's in Geranda Samhita and in Shiva Samhita, in all these classical treatises. And it's just like a visualization in which you, for Prithivi, for example, you visualize a square which is in a yellowish color, using the mantra and the deity and such. But we didn't enter
Thank you.
in that kind of. So I hope it was useful for you, and see you next time.